All right, guys. Rick from RW Outdoors. We're back again. This is video number 3, step number 3 of you want to learn to hunt, but you don't know shit. And today we are going to talk about weapons. Now, before we get into that, do the YouTube thing, like, subscribe, please. Find us on social media. Find us on Facebook. Follow along at RW Outdoors. We already released 2 videos in this series. The first one was, if you don't know how to hunt, how do you get started? Go on a guided hunt. Second one, we went over our licensing requirements and how to get your license. Step 3 today, which a lot of people might not consider to be as important, but to me it is, which is getting your weapons. Depending on where you live and depending on what you're going to hunt is going to determine which weapon you use. And it's very important that you know this before you go to the store. There is a catch-all across the country, kind of the United States, for, any game that you hunt, you could probably just hunt with a .308 caliber rifle. Now, that is a caliber that will, you can hunt a hog, you can hunt a deer, you can hunt an elk, you can hunt, anything but any, little game with a .308. Now, there are some states that have caliber requirements. Some states that don't allow you to shoot deer with a rifle. You have to use a shotgun. Some require a straight wall bullet, which is not, a .308 is not. So you certainly need to look into the local regulations where you live before you go to the store and buy a rifle. Once you have that figured out, go to a local gun shop and start talking. And I'll tell you, in Jacksonville, where I live in Green Cove Springs, I'm near Jacksonville, there's 10, let's say, gun shops. And I've been to all of them. And I've talked to, before I ever buy anything at any store like that, I go in and I talk to the guys and get a feel for what they're about, because I like to support businesses that not only have, thoughts and beliefs that align with mine, but also, I like to support local business. I like to support mom and pops if I can. We have 2 great shops here. We have Basics Gun and Range, which is in Orange Park, Florida, not far from us. And we have North Florida Ammo, which is just down the road from them. And both of these are just locally owned businesses run by great guys that have the information you need when it comes to hunting and what type of weapons you need. So go to a gun store. If you don't like the vibe, move on. Go to another one. Find one that you are comfortable with, talking with the guys who are in there, and you feel like you're getting some knowledge. And that's going to be your gun store. And I would recommend that you stick with that, because that loyalty will build a relationship, and down the line, it'll pay off. When it comes to your rifle, I definitely think it's important for you to have your own rifle. It is a gun that you are comfortable with, and it is the gun that you use. I have multiple guns for different things, and you'll get there on your hunting journey. You'll realize you need some other stuff, or, a bow, or a muzzle loader, or, an AR-10 with .308 or whatever it is that you need. But just to start, your basic bolt action rifle, say a .308 with a nice scope on it, you can buy for $400 or $500, and you're set for a lot of hunting. That gun will work for a multitude of different hunts and things, and whatever it is that you need. Once you have that rifle, it's time to hit the range. And these videos, I'm kind of making all these videos with the assumption that you really have no experience and you've really never hunted before at all, which means you may or may not be very familiar with shooting. Shooting at the range and shooting at a target and shooting at a live animal are 2 very different things. Even when you have a great rifle, a bolt action rifle is one of the most accurate things in the world, as long as you're shooting at the appropriate distances with a good scope. But you can go to the range, and if you put 10 rounds down range and you've never really shot a gun before, you could probably get on bullseye and then be kind of, familiar with being on bullseye and consistently hit bullseye and be real happy. But I can tell you, if you're not familiar with that weapon and you haven't really spent much time around guns, 10 rounds down range, even though you're hitting bullseye, is not enough to proficiently harvest an animal. There is a world of difference between shooting a target and shooting an animal. And even if the animal isn't moving, you think, oh, what's the difference? There's a big difference. When you're looking at an animal through a scope, you don't know exactly, it may not be right in front of you, for one. 2, we get the shakes and we get some adrenaline going when we're sighting in on a deer. Man, I tell you, I can remember every moment up to all the deer I've shot, but maybe the 30 seconds between me raising my rifle and squeezing the trigger and shooting a deer, that all gets a little fuzzy because, man, the adrenaline's going and you get a little buck fever and it's difficult. So if you go to the range with your new gun and you put 10 rounds down range and you're on bullseye and you think you're good, you're not. Put a bunch of rounds down range. Get really familiar with the safety. Get really familiar with the rifle. Get really familiar with re-racking if it's a bolt action. Just get comfortable with that gun, because you got to understand, when you become very proficient at the range, you will be somewhat proficient at shooting at an animal. So the better you are at the range, the better you are when it comes time to harvest your first live, animal. And like I said, once you get there, then maybe you're good with the gun, and you've got your rounds and you've got your ammo and you've got everything figured out. From there, like I spoke about earlier, you've got muzzle loaders, you've got archery season, whole different ball game. I really just want to discuss just getting you out into the field for that first hunt, and the majority of hunting is done with a rifle. So we'll leave it at that today. Like I said, you get in your weapon, getting out there, get proficient with it, and get yourself very familiar. And we'll move on to the next step. The next step is going to be the rest of the gear I think everybody needs. So again, just to recap, step 1, I feel, was an inexpensive guided hunt. Step 2 is get your license. Step 3 is get a weapon and get proficient with it. And then step 4 will be some gear. Then step 5 will be figuring out where you're going to hunt. And then we will be ready to have you out in the woods, even though you didn't know shit before you watched these videos. Again, hit the YouTube stuff, like, follow, subscribe, please. Find us on social media, find us on Facebook. We got a lot of really cool stuff coming down the pipe. And the videos are just going to continue to get better and more. So we appreciate it. Thank you very much. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.